I was tapped by Britex Fabrics to write a guest post for June, which in San Francisco means summer and lots of rainbows. Britex is an experience which I still remember from the first time I went in 6 years ago. I was a little intimidated by their selection at first, but I absolutely fell in love with the store. For this project, I decided to make Simplicity 8085. It's a simple wrap dress that really lets the fabric shine. There's so much ability to kind of really show the beauty of the fabric. Luckily in this pattern, there's 3 main pattern pieces, the front bodice, the back wrap, and the skirt pieces. And the fabric that I used was actually an Italian stretch cotton. It was so simple to sew, very little unraveling. I was happy to be able to just use a universal needle on this, and I had no problem stitching through it with my machine. The most important design element besides the wrap on this dress is actually the bias binding, which you do have to steam into a curve in order to get it to fit properly. A lot of people don't do that when they're using bias binding on curves, so this definitely helps it sew a little bit easier. To put the bias binding on there a little bit more professionally, you want to make sure to pin it to the inside of the fabric and stitch it down, because essentially you're going to be putting in 2 stitch lines, which will reinforce it and get it to lay down a little bit better. So once you do that initial stitch line, go ahead and flip it to the outside, wrap up that edge again, and then you want to go ahead and pin it so that it doesn't warp as you're working on it. After it's all pinned up, you want to go ahead and stitch with the second line of stitching very close to the edge, and it'll make that seam look a lot more professional. Because this is a wrap dress, you won't have to fiddle too much with a closure of any kind, so it doesn't have a zipper, it doesn't really have any buttons actually, though you do have the option of putting those on there if you do want. What I ended up doing after I attached the skirt to the bodice is put snap closures along the back. That helped it stay closed in the back, and even though I was a little bit apprehensive after wrapping up the back of it popping open as I sewed, I didn't have to worry about that at all. I definitely recommend sewing this project. If you have a beautiful fabric, you'll have a lovely canvas to show it off on. If you like what you saw, please subscribe and like this video. You can also find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat at Vintage on Tap, or you can check out the social links in the description.